Hello, everyone. Hello, Dr. Harvey. Thank you for joining us. My name is Cindy. I am from the Japan Foundation, Toronto. And today we welcome Dr. Valérie Harvey for her lecture entitled Studying the Modern Day Japanese Family. This is actually the English iteration of a French language lecture that was presented in Montreal in May of 2023. And Dr. Harvey is very kind to represent this lecture in English for us today, which we will do our best to subtitle into Japanese and show on our YouTube channel. Without any further ado, I wish to turn the camera over to Dr. Harvey, and at the conclusion of her presentation, I will return with a few hopefully thoughtful questions for her. All right, and now, Dr. Harvey.
Thank you very much, Cindy. Thank you very much, Japan Foundation. I will try my best. English is not my first language, but I was thinking that is better than my Japanese. Even if I speak Japanese, it's still a lot of word, very difficult when you talk about sociology matters. So I prefer to do it in English. でも、今日来てくださってありがとうございました。よろしくお願いします。So I hope that you will find interesting this research I've done in Japan last year in 2022 about it was a postdoctorate. I received a fellowship from Japan Foundation. I'm very grateful for that. And it was a very interesting research. I will present some of the results and why I study Japan, why I was interested by family. And you will understand how I became very, very interested by my postdoctorate research. So I share my my PowerPoint slide with you. As you can see, my first question is why Japan? Because I was studying French literature. French is my first language, communications and languages, and I fell in love with Japanese. So it's the first time I think about Japan when I'm studying Japanese. As you can see, it was not clear what I would do with all that, and was a little lost after my study. And I went to Japan for 1 year in a working holiday visa. I can say that it changed my life. When I think about this time of my life, there are before Japan and after Japan. So for me, this time was very, very important. When I was going in Japan, of course, before I was reading a lot of things. And one of the things that seemed similar to me was the situation about family in Japan. Because the birth rate at this time, I went in Japan in 2006. So as you can see, the birth rate in 2000s was very similar between Quebec province, where I live, and Japan. So it was around 1.4 child by woman. So it was for me the same as I was thinking. But what I saw when I lived there for 1 year is very, very different situation in reality. Because the woman who has children seems to have more children than in Quebec. For example, very few women at this time didn't have children in Quebec province. For example, it's 10-14% of women who choose to don't have children in Quebec and in 2000. But if they have one or two, so it's very little. 3 is many, and it's rare. But in Japan, married women have 2 or 3 children, and many women didn't have a child. So I checked the statistics after that, and I saw that what I felt was true. So I decided to start a new specialization in sociology. And I'm still in sociology, so I think I found my subject now. So I decided to study this theme, desire to have children in Japan. I have interviews with mothers and interviews with Japanese women without children. I've done many interviews in Kyoto for 3 months, and the interview was in Japanese. Some of the results of that, three challenges are very important when you decide to have or not to have children. There are heavier responsibilities for married women, for example, especially for the child and children, of course, with the school and everything, the PTA, we understand that someone will be present, will be available for that. But also for the husband, we need to be present to help because there are many responsibilities there as well. It's very expensive to have a children because a good school is very expensive. You have to pay also for other classes if needed. So it's very, very expensive. And also, it's difficult to balance work and family. There are not so much daycare center, so you search for that. And usually, if the child is sick, it's very complicated with the work. And when I was doing this research, I translated the interview from French to Japanese. I have the same question for Japanese women without child and for mothers. It was a question like, what do you think about women who decided to don't have children? Something like that. And what I discovered, mothers didn't react for the word keshinsuru. But they said something like, "Oh, it takes so much patience. I made so sacrifices, so I understand them very well." Like, something. So it was not a problem. The word keshinsuru. But for Japanese women without a child, they always reacted to this word, and they said keshinsuru. I'm not sure it's the right word. Did I decide? You see, I chose Keshinsuru. It's probably the strongest decide that you can choose. I didn't know at that time because in French and in English, it's decide as just one word. So, but in Japanese, you can decide many ways. So Keshinsuru is very strong. It's decide with determination. And these women didn't felt that way about their decision. They felt that it was the situation that made them decide if you want. So it's very sad, but it's a very interesting conclusion because you can say that many women felt that giving up on motherhood was not a choice, but a situation, an outcome of the reality they were living in Japan. So I decided to continue my research about family in Japan because I was very, very interested by the situation. I wrote a book. I also wrote articles and articles. So I decided to pursue in sociology with a doctorate about Quebec fathers. At first, I wanted to study Quebec fathers and Japan fathers and Iceland fathers, but my director said it's a little bit too much. You have to choose one. And at this time, Quebec has a new program, very interesting public policy, very generous about paternity leave. So I decided to continue with Quebec fathers and paternity leave. What changes after the new public policy was present? Because as you can see, outside Quebec province, don't have so much popularity with paternity leave. It's just 15% of Canadian fathers took a break. It's very short childcare leave, and it's not very generous. Daycares are still very expensive, and the consequences are that women with a young child have lower employment rates than in Quebec province now. It doesn't always was like that, but as you will see, the introduction of QPIC changed a lot of things. In 2006, the same year I was in Japan for the first time. So now 80% of fathers have taken an average of 7 weeks. So it's very long of paternity leave in 2020. So it changed a lot. Before the QPIP, it was only 32%. After that, the childcare system is not expensive in Quebec. So we search for place now because it's very popular, but it's not expensive, and it changes the situation for young mother and for mother, because when you have a child, you can find usually you can find a daycare centers, and we have now one of the lowest employment rates. So it changed the situation also for the birth rate. Before we were similar to Japan, so each years were lower, lower, lower. And now, just after the public policy QPIP, it was like a boost in the children. But after that, it's kind of stabilized. So you can see each year it's around 1.6. So as you can see, I will just resume the program QPIP. It's 18 weeks for mothers. It's 5 weeks for fathers. They are called quota, so it's reserved for both of them. And after that, you have parental leave of 32 weeks. So both of them can take it. Usually mothers use the parental leave in full. So I have very, very interesting result. I will show a little bit of that after, but my doctorate was a success in February 2019. I went to Japan after that in October to present the result, and I met with Nakazato Sensei, a professor specializing in paternity leave. So it was the same subject as me. We talked a lot. I had an idea for my postdoc. We submitted it in late 2019 with Japan Foundation, and I received a positive answer to go to Japan in April 2020. As you can remember, it wasn't a good year to travel. So my problem was that everyone was at home. So I wrote an essay about my doctorate, but I have to delay my research. My postdoctorate was done last year, so in 2022, in Konan University, Kobe. And my subject was mothers' changing image and fathers' use of family public policies. Why I include mothers? Because when I was doing my doctorate, fathers, I met a lot of fathers, of course. I just met fathers. And these fathers, the answer was very interesting, because even if in Quebec, 5 weeks of paternity leave is the norm, is very popular, it's no problem with works and family. Even if it's popular, fathers were taking more than that. One, a part of parental leave or all the parental leave, always said something like, my partner gave me permission. She allowed me. She was very kind with me. It was possible for me. Oh, I'm grateful for that. So they didn't feel legitimate to ask for the parental leave, because in the head they were thinking that it's for the mother. So I wanted to study mothers in Japan as well, because I think that even if you talk about paternity leave, if the mothers didn't have a great experience or felt uneasy about paternity leave, it will influence the use of paternity leave. So I wanted to study that. As you can see in Japan, paternity leave use rate is still low, because in 2 years ago it was 14%, and it's not much if you compare with Quebec province especially, but it's still really, really better than 7 years ago, where it was 2-3%. So you have improvement. We must say that unfortunately the average of paternity leave is around 5 days. So it's still very short paternity leave, but the use is growing each year. So I've done interviews. I wanted to do interviews with mothers and with fathers. I was very lucky because my doctorate director, Nakazato Sensei, also have a research with fathers at the same time last year. So we mixed, we combined our interviews, and the main speaker for these interviews was Nakazato Sensei. So it was great for me because, of course, my Japanese is not so good if I compare with Nakazato Sensei. So the interview were more details, very long, and we search a lot for fathers who are taking 1 month of childcare leave alone without the mothers. It was very difficult to find that. As you can see, I will show the chart from before. There are not so much father who are taking a paternity leave, and if they are taking it, it's very short, 5 days. So 1 month alone, it wasn't. It's rare. So my director helped a lot with that, and he's just finished his research and published a book in May. So if you want to read it, it's very interesting and detailed. Very interesting. And I also have done interview with mothers, 7 mothers. I was alone, so it was more difficult, but it was very, very interesting also. I had to adjust the condition because it was at first I found some mothers where the fathers was alone with the baby, but it was very difficult. And my director and I spoke about this problem. We have to adjust the condition. Mothers with partners who have taken childcare leave, because I wanted to explore the feelings with the paternity leave, so it was all right to change a little bit the condition. I have questions about the representation of the roles of fathers, what they were thinking about, what they have to do, how was their own father, um, how was the experience compared to what was anticipated, because we always have ideas about paternity leave or the childcare leave. It's not always the reality. And the reaction of close family, colleagues at work, it's very important. It has great influence. And also, we spoke about the concept of ecumen. I will explain that later. So, father interview, as you can see, it's usually really long childcare leave that they take. So, for the result, very interesting things. Some fathers talks about their understanding of the childcare system, and they didn't understand very well how much the policy was generous. You see, and I think that many companies as well, mothers, fathers, did not understand very well the system, and it can be something easy to improve the communication about how works the childcare system in Japan, because as this father said, even the company didn't know about the money, etc. So it can make some parents hesitate when they want to use it or not. The feelings during paternity leave was very, very interesting. We must remember from many of the fathers that I met, they were in the pandemic, corona, so it was much more difficult, I think, because they didn't have family if they wanted to meet someone else. So all the responsibility are on their shoulder alone. Of course, if you are alone, you are alone. So it was a great difficulty for many fathers. They discover that caring for children is not an innate skill. So it's something that you can also hear when you are outside Japan. I think it's not just Japan, that you can hear that mothers are great when they take care of children. They know it's natural. It's not natural to know why the baby is crying. So you have to learn that. And sometimes it can be very stressful because you don't know why it's so difficult. So a lot of fathers spoke about this difficulty and how the mothers didn't know, and they discovered that they were both parents to ask themselves, what can we do for this baby? They were feeling useless if the mother is there. Oh, it's called mother gatekeeping in sociology. It's a concept that I dislike because I think that the word is really unjust. Um, why the word can be unjust? It's because, you see, when we saw a father involved with his family, really present with his child, usually the reaction from outside is, "Oh, it's great. You're very lucky. You have a father who is there for you and his children. Oh, it's wonderful." But when we are looking at a mother who is doing the same, it's just a regular mother. Nobody will say, "Oh, she's great, she's a hero." No, she's just normal. So usually the pressure for women, for mothers, and for fathers are not the same. So the mother gatekeeping is a result of that pressure that mothers feel, and they know that if something is not perfect while they are outside or working, they will felt, felt they will feel the pressure about that. So I think that the concept is a little bit unjust, but the phenomenon exists, and father felt that they were doing things different, and they have some critics about how to do it, and so it was difficult for them, of course. When we explore in the mothers interview, I forgot to say how I find mothers and fathers. I post on board. I also post on Twitter. Some HR help me. So I think about, for a bank, help me to find some people who took a paternity or a parental leave. So I have a lot of help to find these participants. So mothering is the interview. I ask about paternity leave, how you feel when you go to work, and they have to do a double task for some of them. So they prepare bento, a lunch for the father. They were worried, especially for the first child. Second child is not always the same, but they said that they have to do some other things about before going to work. For the husband skills, very interesting to see that some of mothers was very lucky, because one of Mrs. A, for example, has a partner who used to be a childcare worker. So she said that he was better than her for a lot of things because he was very used to work with a very young baby. So it was very impressive. But others were saying that, of course, everyone will say that my husband is very skillful and everything, but in reality, it's not so much. So they were thinking that's not so equal. For the feeling about equality, some mothers said that in the night, especially, they have to wake up. They will wake up. They're more sensitive, and they will go right away. Mrs. F, a very interesting answer, explained that they have a questionnaire that I think it's come from the hospital, and they have to answer about the other partner, what they were thinking, and her husband gave himself 80%, but after that you have to share the questionnaire, and he saw that she gave him 10%. So it was very good for them, because she explained after that they they talked a lot about where is the problem, where are the problems. So, and they share more after that. It improves a lot the situation. So can be a good way to talk. The problem when we are in the childcare lives, everyone is very tired. So if equality feelings if equality is not right and you're failing, and the mother feels that she's doing much more, usually we don't have time to talk. So it can be a little bit aggressive. So this kind of questionnaire, of course, when you can you have time to do the questionnaire, and you know that you will have time to share the result and to talk about that. So it can be a good way to talk when each of the partner have time. The reaction around them is very interesting because I can compare to my master research. In 2010, when I was going in Japan for my interviews, I had a question about what will happen if the child is sick. Does the father can go to the daycare center, for example? And for mothers, it was always a surprise, this question, because they didn't think about the father. No, father is not implicated in this way. He will not go. Why are you asking me that? But in this interview with mothers, when we ask question about the paternity leave and the reaction around them, it was generally well understand that the fathers will do something, even if they met some surprise, like Mrs. C. It's still very interesting to see that it is a way to have a child if the father is implicated. So I heard very interesting answer. Mrs. D, for example, said that her husband has consequences after taking the leave at work. So some people were unhappy about that. So he felt that they were angry. So can happen also to mothers. I think very interesting to saw that. We ask in the interview with fathers, and I ask also with the mothers, do you think that the relationships with the child change because you take a paternity leave? And also, I ask the mother about that, what the perception about that, of course. It's very difficult to know, of course, but it's interesting to see that a lot of mothers thinks that the situation is better with the child where the father was there when he was very very little, and some of them also talk about the relationship with the partner who improve because they share hardship, they share questions about what to do, they share also feelings when they feel that inequality, for example, was there. So I think that it was an interesting question also with the fathers. So fathers, if I resume, father while on leave feel boredom, to be too busy, and also joy. They have everything mixed together. And regarding family, they said that they understand better the difficulty of being at home. They saw housework, childcare as their responsibilities. They share the hardship with the partner. Um, but to know how much they will continue to do housework after the paternity leave is something very different. It depends if the wife is working or not. So usually, if she's not working, it changed a lot after that. So it seems that it's transferred to the wife responsibilities. A relationship with the child. Fathers felt that they're closer to the child compared to other fathers. And regarding work, very interesting. Fathers also said that they understand better if someone is a new parent, how he can be tired. So they have more thinking about that when they're working with someone. And some fathers also change position or even a new work, a um, new job after a paternity leave. It depends. It's not always because of the child. Some of them already have something else they wanted to do before. And in the pandemic, some of them also try something different while they were at home. So after that, they continue the new job they try while they were um, uh, at home because of the pandemic. Ikumen. I just wanted to talk a little bit about ikumen because it's very, very interesting. Ikumen come from iku, to bring up, and men, of course. It's linked with ikemen. Ikemen is beautiful man. So some fathers were saying, "Oh, does an ikumen has to be an ikemen?" So they were kind of shy about that. It's a word used by government to promote the concept of involved father, and you can saw it in books, in GOs, so it's very, very popular. You can see it everywhere. But when we ask the question to fathers and to mother, the results were very interesting, because father, every father that we met was very uneasy with the terms. They didn't want to use for this themselves. For the mother, the answers were very divided. Some of them were saying, "Oh yes, he's completely an ikumen, very, very good, etc." And for the others, we have answered like, "Oh, I don't think that my husband is an ikumen, but I'm sure that everyone around me will think that he is the perfect example of an ikumen." So everyone knows the word ikumen, but doesn't use it naturally for themselves or for their partner. It's really a question with this word. It's not don't doesn't seems to be fully understand and used by people themselves, even if it is used by organizations or government. What next for my study? Of course, I'm writing now an articles about my results. So I am in that right now. I will teach a classes in university this fall about other subject, but manga and Japanese society. As you can see behind me, I like very much to read also. I am also a writer, so I will try maybe in future to write another books about Japan. Probably I'm writing novels, children books, essay. I like that very much. But I'm sure that I will continue to do a job to be a bridge between Japan and Canada, because it's very important to me.
Thank you for that wonderful presentation, and especially for doing it in English. We really appreciate all your effort. I can't imagine personally doing a presentation in a second language. Yes, so I have a few questions. I'll start with a sort of a very light one. Just on the second to last slide where you were talking about the ikumen concept, could you explain a little bit more why like all the fathers felt unease about labeling themselves as ikumen? Like, was it a confidence issue, or did they just not like the label itself?
It depends. I think that the mix with ikemen, ikumen was a problem, because some of them want to say, "Oh, I'm very, I'm kakoi." No, no, no. They were feeling like, "Oh, I'm not so cool." You see, ikumen seems to be an ideal too high. So
Um,
they didn't want to say, "I am this high of a father. Um, I am this good." So it's too strong for them. And for mothers, I think that some of them was thinking, okay, the reality of the situation was that you were, of course, my husband was there, but I'm doing much more.
right.
So and what is the term for me, the mother? Some of them were saying, okay, if I'm calling my husband an ikumen, what am I?
Mm.
I am an iku woman, you know. I'm just a mother, and
Right.
mother will do all that and much more. So we
Mm.
were saying that, feeling that it's great. I will say that it is great, but who will say that I am great to do all that? So I'm not sure the word will be used by people very soon. Ikumen, ikumen.
I like that. I feel like that sentiment from the Japanese mothers definitely exists in Canada as well, right? Okay. Okay, so onto my first serious question. At the beginning of your slideshow, you shared with us a graph that shows that paternity leave usage in Japan um, is like you said it's low, but I think compared to in the past, it's actually increased quite a bit, right? It stands at what 14%, and I think a large part of that is owing to the new government policy that was introduced in 2019, I believe. Since these policies were introduced, what do you find is the general feedback from Japanese men who want to become fathers soon? Are they mostly excited about the prospect of spending time alone with their kids, or are they weary? Are they a little scared? And do you anticipate that these men will play a larger role in child rearing compared to the previous generations of Japanese fathers?
Even before public policies in other studies that I read, of course, there were many fathers who felt frustration because they cannot be there
Mm,
for their child. Usually, when you saw the statistics, um, fathers after a baby are working more than before because they have to. Because of the money,
mm,
the, often mothers are taking a long leave, so they have to work more, so they don't see the baby for a long time. So,
mm,
of course, for this situation, I think that public policy, generous public policy, is very good, and it is a solution for some fathers. But still, problem is that at work, many companies still see childcare policies as something for the woman employment and not for the fathers. They always see a man working in their company as someone stable who will not take a break,
mm,
childcare leave, so it will not need it. So it's still very difficult. I think that many fathers answer that with the company they feel anxious about what will be the reaction if they want to take some of the childcare leave. It's very good because some company, and I heard that the ministry for from the government, Japanese government, it's not voluntary. You have to take a paternity.
oh,
So of course, in this situation, you are changing the responsibility because you will saw that your boss is taking a leave. So if you are employee, we said, okay, so if my wife is pregnant, I will have also to take a leave. And it's just normal. Even if outside my company or my ministry, it's not so used, but I saw it before. It's always difficult for the pioneers, uh,
mm.
but after that, if the there are many pioneers, you can maybe change the situation. And there are also the problem that many people didn't know that public policies can be very generous with paternity leave, mother, and there are very many bonus that you can use. So I think information is still a problem because the public policy changed with the years. They try to improve it, but you have to explain it after that.
Mm.
It's really complicated. So I think that we have to do something about that also.
Well, it's just started, right? And I think when
It
Quebec,
just no, many years before they tried to improve this situation because they saw that use was very low before,
mm.
but uh, but it just changed so recently.
Well, like you said, once it becomes more normalized, but right now it's so new and people aren't sure what to do with it. But once more people start taking it, it become more normal, and then that anxiety, I think, will go down.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next question. I want to talk about Quebec a little bit because we are in Ontario, and when I took my leave with my two kids, it was with the Canadian federal
Mm.
rules. And Quebec has its own,
Yeah.
which I just found out from your presentation is very generous
Mm.
compared to what the rest of Canada gets. You noted too that Quebec's birth rate, I think, is hovering around 1.6
Mm.
children per woman. And I did a little digging. Canada's overall birth rate is about 1.4 children per woman, and Japan is 1.3 children per woman. And none of these numbers are anywhere near the replacement level of 2.1 children per woman. So even though Quebec has this really generous policy for parents and very cheap childcare, the birth rate seems to be dropping still from year to year. Not drastically, but there is a small decrease. So, what are some of the factors that are contributing to this slow drop? And do you see similar factors affecting Japan's birth rate decline, or does Japan have other unique factors contributing to its decline that Quebec doesn't necessarily have to worry about?
Mm. I have many answers, but I will try to to be short.
Sorry for that was like five questions.
Yeah, but it's very interesting. Um, I think that, of course, there will last year a little decrease, but we have to see because the pandemic changed some things. We have to see if it will continue. But I think that we will probably continue to be around 1.6 because it is very important to see the birth rate, but it's not the only thing. You have to see how people if they are working, if they are feeling better than before. When you check other statistics, for example, if they share task in at home, if they share how the fathers will go to the kindergarten or
Mm.
daycare centers, it's better than before. So I think it's better for people in general to solve that. It's more you can have many possibilities when you have a woman and you want to do a job that you will know for 2 years, for example, will ask you will need more time for your work because you have a new promotion, for example. So you permit that with a system hello flexibility between parents. But if the others have never done anything with the children before, it can be very difficult to change, to be flexible when you talk about career, for example. And I think it's very good for children also because if you feel at ease with both of your parents, uh, of course, when you are a teenager, sometimes you want to talk to some subject with one of them because you feel that it's closer than with this one than with the others. But when you have another problems of completely different team schematics, you talk about your mothers or your fathers. You see, so I think the possibility also for children, it's very good to have both parents present, even they're not the same, of course, and it's great. But it's like that. So I think that you have to think that also not just the birth rate. Birth rate is one statistics, but it's just one thing about how we feel in our family. And Quebec share this situation of decreasing of population with all countries from the Occidental countries, for example, Europe's have the same problems, except Iceland. So,
Mm.
so you see, it's general. So we all searching for solution about how to do something uh, to parents, for parents. Many explanation about that. It's very expensive to have a child. It's very expensive because it's very long. Also, the education now, women have more choice than before, so they can have the number of child that they want, children. So if they want one, it's okay. So also that, and I think that in 2000 is when it wasn't a problem, but I think that now we can also add the environmental reasons.
Climate change.
Some adults chose really to no children for me because the situation is worse than before, and I don't want to add someone else in this. on this curve. So
Mm-hmm.
I think also it's one of the reasons that we had to think when we question why it's decreasing the population, etc. So all of that is very important. When I check the birth rate, of course, we ask this question, but I think that many many of the other statistics are very important as well. How parents share responsibilities, how they choose, how they talk, how children are well or not, and it's very important also to think about all of that.
That gave me a lot to think about, and I just realized that in the course of our conversation, we've been sort of assuming that a family is a mother and a father and children, right? And I don't think that's um, the case throughout Canada at all. There's a lot of single parenthood.
Yes, I also in my books I have more time, and I also talk about that. Of course, my study were about family, heterosexual family, but I have interest also for other forms of families, and I think that very interesting things with other research about finally what is the best for the child if to have two people that they can love, that they feel that they can share their worries. So it can be grandmother and
Mhm.
mother. It can be two fathers. It's not a problem, but you need to have two people different. And sometimes when you have a single parent, you have that because, for example, the daycare center or your sister, your brother is living very near or something like that. So this help is very important for the
Mm.
and it's very important also for the parent. So you have many form of families, and it's not new. Huh? Before when you check your genealogy, you can see that your grandmother, after that, grandfather remarry with someone else, and so it's not so new when you check the backgrounds of our families. The way we are doing it is new, but I think that what is really important that the difference about who will take care of me as a child, it's a great thing because you know that each child is different. Each child will need something different. So if you have two, not so many. I don't said you need 20 papers around you. You cannot develop so many links with so many peoples when you have a baby with you. But of course, if you can feel at ease with two peoples very important to you, it's a great thing.
Mm.
We must remember that.
Thank you. Uh, I just wanted to address that very fascinating answer you got from the mother about, I think, the questionnaire that the couple did after birth. If I understood the slide correctly, so they were asked to sort of grade themselves, and the father gave himself an 80%, and the mother gave him a 10%.
Exactly.
that that that's a huge difference.
Yes. So after that, he was very surprised. So,
Like
yeah.
surprising the like was he uh did he think about his contributions after that? Like was he
Yes.
willing to accept his
The-
grade?
He was. I don't know if he was willing to accept everything, but I think that it was the first of many discussion between them after that, because the mother said that it was a great start
Mm, mm,
to talk about how she was feeling with is part of the responsibilities. When you check the literature about other studies with mothers, you saw that generally mothers will say that the partner wasn't doing so much in the home. But when you speak with fathers, they will say that they are great, they are doing almost half of the task at home and everything. So usually you can see that in another studies, this kind of gap. So it's not surprising.
Mm.
So it's great when the couple can talk about the feelings about that.
Mm. It leads to introspection and communication instead of resentment.
Yeah.
It takes a village. That takes more than two people for sure. Yes, so I think those are all my questions. Because this is a pre recorded conversation, unfortunately, we don't have any live audience questions to contribute. But should someone who watches this interview, should they have any questions, can they contact you? I
Of
think you
course.
put up, yeah, I will also include your contact information in the information section of the video, in the description. So I hope that you continue on this line of research. Well, yes, thank you again so much. It was great having you in Montreal for the French lecture, and it has been wonderful listening to you in English and actually understanding the lecture this time.
Thank you very much.